Tommy Beck, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And, man, I've been cutting it up. We've been talking about all the good stuff before we even started recording. But
I guess we're done.
Yeah. But I should have asked you before we went on. Proper pronunciation for your last name. Mark?
Rasmussen.
Perfect. Here with Mark Rasmussen of No Cover. Yep. And so many other things, as I'm finding out. You know, jack of all trades in the advertising world and all over. But Mark, I'm glad you came over. So we can.
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
No,
it was cool meeting you at Inc.
So at Incarceration. It's like, you know, once again, Hulk Hogan bringing people together.
Yeah.
Rest in peace. You know.
Pour one out for him.
Yeah, man. But yeah, usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick background. So do you remember as a little kid? Now you said you grew up in Lakewood, right? Yep. What did you originally want to be when you grew up?
I always wanted to be in advertising. Work for my dad. My dad owned an ad agency, so I grew up brainwashed, you know, as a little kid. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an admin, you know. And then you have shows on TV like Bewitched and stuff like that. And I watched that when I was a kid, and I was like, that looks like fun. I like to do that.
I forgot. That's what Darren's gig was, right?
That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I loved commercials. I was geeked out on commercials. My dad would literally say, okay, because he was a creative guy. So he would say, okay, when you watch this commercial, what are they selling you? What message are they trying to get to you? I'm like, it's a strange thing to ask a kid. But yeah, that's how I grew up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
it's like see through the lines. Like, you know how there's a, you know, they say like subliminal messages and stuff like that, or in the artwork you'll find things and whatever, but it's like selling you and you don't even realize why do I want this?
You have no idea.
So then you always wanted to be in advertising. Like, talk a little bit about, you know, your dad, you know, what he...
Oh man, he was amazing man. He had two claims to fame in Cleveland. The Channel 5 original logo he did. He worked for Weiss Advertising, which was a big ad agency here. I was actually named after the owner, Mark Weiss.
Okay.
So my mom was pregnant when my dad was advertising, and my dad pretty much sold my soul to Mark Weiss because he told him, he goes, if you hire me, he was graduating from Bowling Green, the same school that I wound up going to. He said, if you hire me, he goes, you know, I have a wife who's about to have a baby, and we'll name our first baby after you, Mark. And then how did I get my name? It's Mark, except Mark Weiss spelled his with a C, and my mom refused and said it has to be a K. So,
nice. So right then and there, you're already destined, I guess, from the womb.
Yeah, and then exactly, from the womb. And the other thing is, he did the Cleveland Force logo. I don't remember the soccer team. Yeah. So
I used to see them at the Richfield Coliseum too.
Yeah, that's how I would go to all these concerts, because we would have a box at the Richfield Coliseum.
Oh, nice. Because
my dad did the literally the type of the Force, but also the guy spinning around. Yeah, he designed that whole thing, and it was kind of cool because I was at the Rolling Stones concert not too long ago here in Cleveland.
Okay,
and I turned around and I saw this guy wearing the hat with my dad's logo. And I told him, I go, I'll give you $20 for the hat right now. He goes, nah, man, I paid more than that on eBay. And I was like, how much you pay? He goes, 50. I go, I'll give you 100 for it. And he goes, why do you want it so bad? And I go, my dad designed that logo. I haven't seen that logo. But fortunately, I found a t-shirt, old one, doesn't fit me, but it has my dad's logo. So nice. I was like, I have some memory of that logo.
The guy never gave you the hat, though?
No, I didn't give you the hat.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, it's
Dude, die hard,
$100,
man. Yeah.
He was a huge Force fan. He was a huge Cleveland
I
Force
remember that. Yeah. Like I said, when I was reading through your resume when you sent it to me, and I was like, oh my God, we run in a lot of the same circles, except for when you left Cleveland, but still kind of.
Well, my heart's always been in Cleveland, though.
Yeah,
I left, but my heart. I mean, I haven't felt at home until. I mean, I spent 25 years in California, and California's great. I loved it. Beautiful weather, people, great connections. Very expensive, but when I would come back to see my friends, I would always yearn for Cleveland. I'd come back just over Thanksgiving or Christmas, the holidays, someone's wedding, but my heart's always been in Cleveland. You can't take it out of a person.
Yeah, I know. I learned that when I was in active duty, and then, what brought everybody together, from all walks of life in the military is like football.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I was like, well, I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. And, then everybody gets to pick on you. But there's like so many Browns backers clubs.
Yeah.
See, everywhere I was stationed, even when I was in Kuwait, we had one.
Yeah. I was part of one in California, but we would have to wake up at 9 o'clock to start getting ready for the game. So 9 a.m., it's like we'd go for brunch and watch football instead of, doing the whole 1 o'clock because we had to start earlier, 3 hours earlier.
Yeah.
So
you're talking about, growing up in Lakewood, you knew you wanted to get into advertising, but music, connected with music. What was the scene? I mean, Lakewood's got a big history. We talked about the Fantasy nightclub and theater and everything too. What was the scene like for you growing up out there? Or some of the bands you saw? Or
amazing. I mean,
connected with?
I mean, I had a good friend that lived a few houses down from me, and he'd have all the, Hit Parader magazines, Circus magazines, everything, and talking about all the bands coming out. And he had, killer. He lived in the attic of his house, and he had this like private area. I had to share a bedroom with my brother growing up. And so,
like when Greg Brady grew up and got the attic and had the beads and all that.
Yeah, that's like his place. I'm like, dude, you got the coolest stuff, man. And then, it was so much fun. And then we'd just listen and jam out to music out there. And he turned me on to a lot of great music that I would have never known. A huge Kiss fan. I mean, huge. Loved Kiss. And then I would go down I lived on Cordova, so I'd walk to the Daystar, buy all my Kiss albums. I had almost every single one, including, the Japanese imported one. And just like, I just loved Kiss. It was great. So that, Van Halen, Rush, what else? Motley Crue, of course.
Oh, yeah.
Just pretty much anything, Poison. I was a closet Poison fan. But I love it. I mean, I still love Bret Michaels and Poison. I'm like, he's got some good songs.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I didn't want to admit it when I was younger. I'm not going to admit that.
But also, like, tell me about any, like, of the local bands that you were kind of like.
Local, I really didn't know that much. Like I mentioned to you before, Exotic Birds. Trent would come to my house because he dated my mom's friend's daughter. And then they would pick them up before they would go to bingo. And then sometimes my mom would forget her purse or something. And then Trent would run into the house and like, hey, I need your mom's purse. And, like handed the purse. And then he would be all like dressed like Robert Smith from The Cure, Like, I just thought he was I thought he was a freak because I'm not used to seeing people at the time wearing lipstick and nail polish and guy liner. And now it's like, oh, okay, I get it. But, at the time I was total business in the front, party in the back. I had what they called the soccer cut or the mullet, the Beavis and Butthead, And I was literally probably a Beavis and Butthead because I would wear my Metallica shirt or my Slayer shirt or whatever band it was with my mullet. So I was not the cool kid, that's for sure. But I got to meet him, and then it kind of changed me because I remember one year his family was in Pennsylvania and they weren't going to be in town, and Trent was coming over for Christmas with Sue and her mother, Lucille, who was my mom's best friend. And I remember my mom telling me, he's like, you know, he bought you something for Christmas. You should get him something. And I'm like, he's probably just going to give me an album from his stupid band. And he did. He's like, I got a giant square, and it was in newspaper. And I opened it up, and it says, "This will be worth something someday when I'm famous, Trent Reznor." And right there, I was like, what a cocky son of a bitch. But that is how I look, and still to this day, I've picked the covers of the magazine because I would see that cockiness but confidence. Like there's a very fine line between
you got to believe it to make it happen too. You know, you got to believe it to live it.
That's it. So you first conceive it, then you believe it, and then you achieve it.
Yeah. Who is that again? That's Nightingale or whatever. Is that Earl Nightingale, or what was the guy name that talked about that? You know?
Oh, Carl Jung.
Oh, Carl Jung.
Carl Jung. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, manifest. You know.
Yeah.
So good on him. And that was that 9 Inch Nails then? Was that an example?
No, that was just an example when I was a kid that I saw him creating his self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's kind of like the story with who's that guy that was in
But what was the album he gave you? Was that
it was an Exotic Birds album.
Oh, it was still Exotic
Birds.
Birds.
Yeah, and you know, I listened to it. It was literally a record. You know, I listened to it and it sounded like, to me, Flock of Seagulls meets The Cure, but not very good. Not very good. It wasn't very good. I wasn't a fan. I was like, okay, I'm going back to Metallica. I'm going back to Kiss.
Did you hold on to that though?
I had it for a long time until my mom moved out of her house in Lakewood, and then it disappeared.
Oh, no.
Yeah, which is really sad because
I'm sure around that time he was already rolling with 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah,
then, right?
that would be a good. I thought she told me that she took it to her condo, but I literally just cleared out her condo and helped moved her into an assisted living. So I looked everywhere for that album, and it's not there. So unfortunately, it's somebody has it. Somebody has it somewhere. But I had 2 autographed singles too, and this is where I was telling you about the Fantasy Theater show, and that's one Richard Patrick played on. And then I had Head Like a Hole, and then I forget what the other one was, but they both signed them. And I had that for a long, long time. And then I moved so many times. I mean, I started in Long Beach, and I went to Brentwood. And then that's when Long Beach, my window got shut out. I was living in the hood, Cherry and Appleton. And then, but I had to drive to Brentwood for work. But I thought Long Beach was a cool beach. It is now, but at the time it wasn't. And so then I got my window shut out. Then I moved to Brentwood. So I'm in Brentwood. I'm close to where I was working. And then Nicole Simpson gets murdered. And, you know, right across. And then I'm like at the candlelight visuals and everything during that whole, I'm like, what the hell is going on with California? I just moved here.
Yeah.
And there's all this violence. And then I moved from there.
Like you didn't read about the Manson family?
yeah. I didn't. And it's crazy because
there was a Night Stalker was out there too, right?
Yeah, the Night Stalker. There's some crazy people. So then I moved from there to Santa Monica. And then Santa Monica, I went to Marina Del Rey, Playa del Rey, Manhattan Beach. And then San Diego. I lived a long time in San Diego. That helped. That launched me because I got a .com investment. So right when the internet was starting, and then Kevin Lyman from the Warped Tour was a part of it. If it wasn't for Kevin, I probably wouldn't sit there and be telling you all these stories because Kevin helped me too. There's 3 people that really helped me in my life. Kevin is a big part of it. Mark Fleischman, who owned Studio 54. He was right when I was about to give up on and go back to Cleveland because my magazine wasn't doing so well. He took out a year's worth of advertising. He gave me great advice on sales and how to talk to people. And then he also gave me trade. So trade is basically, instead of giving you all the money, I'm going to give you trade and you can use it at my club. And he had one of the hottest clubs.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called at the time. It was in Culver City. I'll have to look it up. But I would go, and then I got to use his limo too. So he would send his limo to pick us up, and then I would get advertisers. So I would get Warner Brothers, I would get BMG Records, I would get Sony, Interscope, whoever else I want to entertain, and we'd pick them up in the limo, and we'd drive to his club. It's escaping me the name of it right now, but then there was no line, right? So then we'd show up.
But this is the guy that owns Studio 54 in Manhattan, in New York? Or whatever?
Yes.
Okay, the infamous.
He bought it off of the original owners after it went down. But he also, Mark Fleischman, owned part of, I'm trying to think of the movie studio. He owned a huge movie studio. I had no idea who this guy was. Like, he literally, like, I was knocking on the door. It
seems to be your thing, though, too. You're hanging out with people you had no idea who they are.
Yeah, I had no idea. So I picked up the LA Weekly, and I was looking around for ads. I'm like, okay, this guy has a huge full-page ad, this guy. So I was just driving around, and I was like, okay, I'm going to go to his club. And then, of course, I go in the day because that's when salespeople go. But it's a nightclub. You know? It's not supposed to be open. And I'm like knocking on the door, and I see this guy, and I'm thinking, well, maybe he's the manager or something. And so, hey, he's like, yeah, can I help you? And then I'm like, yeah, Mark with no cover. He goes, I don't know you. I go, well, no, I want to talk to you about, advertising. And I see you were in the LA Weekly, and I was nervous. And he brings me in. He's like, let me show you my club. And I'm like, okay. I'm still thinking he's the manager. Still to this day, for the longest time, I thought he was the manager. And it wasn't until I was watching VH1 Behind the Music talking about Century City. That's the name of the club, Century Club. And he was on it because of Studio 54. Wow. And he also owns, God, what is the name of the film company he owns? I can't think of it right now. But he owns that, and he basically said, look, I'm going to, give you all the money you're asking for, but I'm going to give you half in trade, and you can use my limo. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't get this, but I had no idea who he was. And I just thought he was always the manager until I was watching that. And I told my wife, I go, my God, look at this. This is the guy that I was talking about. And unfortunately, I think it was 3 years later, he had to do an assisted suicide in Sweden or Switzerland, wherever that's legal, because he had Lou Gehrig disease. Oh. So, yeah. But yeah, he was an influence. And then Jerry Heller from Ruthless Records.
Okay, yeah.
Met him, and he changed my life too. Because I had a hip hop artist that he was interested in, and I went out there and started talking to him, and he's like, Mark, where are you from? And I said, Jerry, you called me. I live in San Diego. And, I'm from San Diego. He goes, no. You live in San Diego. Where are you from? And I said, you're not going to know. I go, I'm from Lakewood, Ohio, outside of Cleveland. And then he goes like this. He goes, I thought so. I'm from Shaker Heights. And I was like, what? From Shaker Heights? That's crazy. So, and we hit it off. He opened a lot of doors for me. He was always there at my events. He was there, brought, book signings, and introduced me to networking with people. And, he got a bad rap, no pun intended, on the movie Straight Outta Compton. And he called me after that movie, came out. And he was really hurt. He was really, really hurt because, those guys had nothing going on. They had nothing. He showed me, he would sit there, he was an older guy, and he obviously was still in the game a little bit, but he was retired, and he liked to talk kind of like I do now. Just like, I'm older and I want to talk about what I've done and pass on some information. So kind of how he was with me, he kind of took me under his wing, and he showed me videos of him and Suge Knight and Eazy-E and everybody hanging out. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Everybody got along. It wasn't until the money, and it's like, they didn't have anything. They were literally in Compton slinging drugs, and, it's like doing glam rap or whatever it was, Dr. Dre was. And it's like, he changed their life. He did. If he didn't come in, and then he changed, look at the trajectory. because after you got Dr. Dre and you got Ice Cube, would you have the movie Friday? Would you have Eminem? Because Dr. Dre and Eminem. Would you have anybody that came after him? I mean, just on and on and on. Look at the legacy that he left. So it's pretty powerful. Yeah, I mean, he was definitely a business guy, right? You know, but he put his own money into it. He said, you know, he's like, I put my own money into it. I don't ever advise you to do that. You know, but you know, he got his money out, but you know, he got a bad rap. Like they made him sound like he was, you know, taking something he didn't deserve, but they made the deal.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. Now I wanted to bring it back real quick because we were talking a little bit about, you know, Richfield Coliseum. Like, what was one of your favorite shows there? Would you say that you got to?
Well, my first had to be my favorite. It was Van Halen 5150.
Nice.
That was by far my first, and there's a lot of reasons. It was like my first beer. That was another reason, and another reason I just probably shouldn't have mentioned, but it was a memorable experience, incredible, and I fell in love with live music right there because it was my first concert. I was like, wow, this is insane. Like listening to it on the tape, I guess, dating myself, listening to it on the tape, I was like, okay, but then being there and live and seeing it, it's like that. It's just that energy. It's like it's addictive. I mean, look, my whole life surrounds around it now, so it's like it's amazing, you know. So that one.
Now I remember. I don't know if we did this. Were we recording when we talked about the Force logo and everything? Okay, so you had that connection with the booth there or the box there, right?
Yeah. So when
every show you would go to,
with my dad, when I would go with my dad, and those were far and few in between because he had it for his clients as well.
Yeah.
But I saw Deep Purple in the Loge. That was really cool. I saw WWE, you know, or WWF
at the time.
Yeah.
Saw Hulk Hogan.
I did. I saw Hulk Hogan.
Talk about that. Coming back around.
I remember.
I would be there for. I remember they did like the Survivor Series. One of their big major pay-per-views started. The first two was at the Richfield Coliseum, and that was like Thanksgiving Eve. They did those, but I would go like, you know, with my friends and stuff, see Hulk Hogan or King Kong Bundy. All that stuff. So I got old pictures I'll have to show you.
I'd love to see
those, man.
Yeah, so those were fun times. Those are great memories. I saw Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. Who else did I see? I mean, it's all a blur. I just go back and look at all the T-shirts. Cinderella, I saw.
That really got your love of music. You know, I mean, it's great that you were listening to music and you're a fan of like the bands that you had mentioned, listening to them. But then once you see it live, it's a whole different.
Oh yeah,
you know,
huge. And even seeing like, you know, obviously the Richfield Coliseum and the Blossoms, those are great. But just a local show when you see a band that just really hits, and I'm like, wow, it just blows my mind. And I've been fortunate, you know. It's like I remember seeing Korn early on. I saw POD early on, both at the same clubs in Ocean Beach of all places.
Yeah.
You know?
So after you got out to California, then. Now you mentioned advertising. Was this your first magazine or something you were working with? Was this
the first one? Was Scratch.
Scratch.
It was a punk ska music mag, and I didn't know what ska music was. I knew punk music, but you know, then I started listening to it. Ska was really popular in Orange County at the time.
That was like No Doubt came from
No
there.
Doubt,
right?
yeah, No Doubt. Yeah, they were just getting signed, I think, at the time, and then I met Safe Ferris. They were reading our publication at the time, and they asked to play a party, and I'm like, we live in apartments, you know. They wanted to play like a backyard barbecue party, and I'm like, we live in an apartment. It's not going to work. But the guy I was working with, he had a friend's dad who owned a shack in Anaheim. So we did Tuesday nights shack nights or scratch nights at the shack. And so the first bands I ever booked was Safe Ferris and the Aquabats. And Aquabats had Travis. And I remember Travis, it was still in high school, and he had these Star Wars people he brought. He had the Kenny, what is it? The Kenny, the people that made the Star Wars figures.
Kenner.
Yeah. He had the Kenner ones, and he had them sitting on the drums as he was playing.
Nice.
It was like so random.
Yeah.
But they have a song, I think, Aquabats did called Star Wars. I think that's why he did it. I'll have to look back. But then we had Blink-182 before Travis was in the band, obviously. We had Vandals, Voodoo Glow Skulls. We had, who else we had? Not Bad Religion. What's Bad Religion? No.
I know you mentioned something about like having one of Bradley Knowles' last interviews.
Yeah, that was our first issue
from Sublime.
Yeah, that was our first issue.
Oh, okay.
So we had saw the show at the Whiskey, and we interviewed Bradley at the Whiskey, and we had the picture of our cover, and it was all black and white. This whole thing was black and white, and my business partner at the time, Scott, worked over at Kinko's, and we borrowed some paper. We just never returned it, right? So we got all the information. I sold all the ads. I went around to Venice and different tattoo shops and music stores, surf shops, and wherever I could to sell an ad. And they gave me the money, and we put it together, but we didn't print except on paper, and we stapled it at Kinko's. So we printed it all at Kinko's. I think we did 3,000 copies. And then we printed it and stapled it, and then we passed it to our advertisers, and then we put it all around town. And then that's when Safe Ferris was reading the publication. We were at Denny's in Fullerton, California. And I just saw him, and I'm like, those kids are reading our magazine. And then he's like, oh, okay, let's go talk to him. I go, no, don't tell him it's ours. I go, let's try to get some information.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And then it turned out that one thing led to another, and we were doing Tuesday night scratch nights. We charged $3 for a ticket for everybody to get in. It was a capacity of 500. We'd sell out. But the kids had to buy a 2-drink minimum because it's non-alcohol, right? So either you can buy a water, a Coke, 7-Up, whatever. But they charged $10. So those kids were paying $13 to see these local bands, and they would pay it, or their parents probably paid it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as you know, when did the crossover or when did you finish with scratch and then go over to, when did No Covers start for you?
Well, I wasn't making a lot of money on scratch at the time. So, I mean, it was fun, but I literally sent my resumes to different ad agencies that I was working at a big ad agency, and I got let go because we lost the account. And then I got a call from Honda, American Honda Motors. And so it was with Ruben Poster Associates, which was their ad agency on the Santa Monica Promenade. It was beautiful. I mean, every day I would go to work. I'm looking at the ocean. I'm right on the promenade. Great place to go for lunch. And I worked with Honda. I got to drive cars all day long. Got to meet some good people. We did commercials. I mean, the commercials were fun, but we'd wake up at so early just to get the light right. Like 5 a.m. and we'd sit there till probably 7, 8 o'clock at night, and just keep going over and over and over again. Same shoot, same this, same that. And then after that's done, then we have to take it to Hollywood Digital, which was the digital editing place you would go to. Now you can do it on your computer. You can edit any commercial on your computer or have AI do it. But at the time, you had to go to a facility, and it was super, super expensive. And I remember the first time I was in there, I was a little nervous, but they give you, because you're the agency, you're basically paying them, and they give you a menu full of all these restaurants nearby. And you just pick out whatever you want to eat, and they'll bring it to you because you're sitting in that booth going through the cut after cut after cut, making sure that everything's right, everything's lined up right. But I remember the first time I went, they have a little kitchen area, and I went to grab a Coke. And then this guy behind me is like, "Can you grab me a Coke?" And I turned around, it was Martin Sheen. And I was like, whoa, that's
Nice.
cool. Yeah, I was talking to him. He was doing some type of cartoon or something, voiceover cartoon he was in there doing. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Nice. Now, what was like now No Cover was your thing. You started that.
Yeah, I
right?
started No Cover. Yep.
What was what was the inspiration starting that, and where?
Well, I didn't want to compete
come up with
against
the name?
Scratch, right? So
Yeah.
Scratch was punk ska, and so I didn't want to do that. And we had success finding bands before they got signed, so I wanted to focus on original music, not cover bands. And then I liked a publication called, and I think it still exists, called Paper. And it was a magazine called Paper, and I was like, oh, I love that name because that's all it is. It's really paper.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so I'm like, well, mine's going to be free. So, and I want to get into the bars for free, so I'm going to call it No Cover.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go.
That was it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'm
Okay.
like, and it sounds like it was bigger than it was, right? And I mean, now people know it, but at the time, nobody knew it. But people sounded like, oh, I know that. I know that.
Yeah,
They would
yeah.
always say that. I know that. You get the No Cover stamp. That was my first No Cover stamp. Was at the what venue was it? Troubadour. So the Troubadour had this really cool No Cover stamp, and I basically ripped it off, changed the font to like almost like an Everlast boxing font. I kind of warped it a little bit. That was my inspiration, and then that was my first. And then I had that from the Troubadour with the lines around it, and I'm like, there it is. Everybody gets stamped at the Troubadour. They're going to remember No Cover.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then as that went on for you, you started connecting with more bands, people in the music industry. You'd mentioned something about being a part of the first like Jägermeister tour. How did
Yeah,
How
I
did it
got
all
lucky.
come together for you?
I mean, everything is God's plan, right? It's divine appointment. So
yeah.
it's literally from meeting with Trent to the story I told you about with Darius Rucker, when I was doing my internship in advertising. And it's just like everything kind of put me on this path. And it's like, as much as I wanted to sway away from it, it just kept sucking me back into the music thing, sucking me back in. So with I'm sorry, what was the
Jägermeister.
The Jaeger. Okay,
tour,
yeah, with Jaeger. Rick Zeiler, who was the director of marketing of Jaeger at the time, now he owns Cold Cock Whiskey. He just moved to San Diego. And
that's when you were living there at the time?
I was living in San Diego, and
Right.
he picked up No Cover. And I think at the time I had Linkin Park on the cover at the time. And he's like, how did you know? I go, what do you mean? So how did you know they were going to be so big? I go, I get this feeling, it's like the hair stands up on my arm. I hear the song, I meet the band, I see the same thing I saw with the confidence between cocky and confidence.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's it. They're going on the cover. Nobody knows them, but I like them, and it's my magazine. So
Nice.
that was kind of my thing. It's not the greatest business model, putting no-name bands on the cover of your magazine when you're trying to sell advertising, right?
Yeah.
So it should be the reverse. You want the biggest bands so people want to buy the magazine or want to advertise in the magazine. But I didn't come from that background. I came from the idea of I'm just going to do what I want to do. And that's what I did. And it showed the authenticity of what I did. And then being able to strike with the right bands helped build my reputation. So I would get record labels calling me, begging me, offering me money to pay to put these no-name bands on my cover of my magazine that nobody's ever heard of. And I'm like, let me hear it. Nah, I'm not into it. Sorry, not into it. But we're going to give you, I'm like, no, not into it.
Wow.
I stuck to my guns, which, now I know Rolling Stones accepts money, Spin Magazine accepts money. All these people accepted money, right? I'm the only idiot that didn't accept the money. So,
But I'm wondering, like, how many, like that Linkin Park episode or issue, it was, it was a free magazine, advertisers basically kind of paid for it to get their stuff out there. But
Yep.
I wonder, like, how many of those that people picked up for free, if they held on to it, are now like worth money because of,
Oh, yeah,
what
the-
those bands went on to become and stuff.
I saw on eBay, there was the first Linkin Park issue, and Linkin Park Rolling Stone went for $1,000.
Wow.
And that, I'm like, That was my issue.
Yeah, yeah.
That was my issue. I'm like, all I had to do is buy that Rolling Stone. I have a whole box full of the Lincoln Park ones. I could have made $1,000.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it would have cost me the price of a Rolling Stone. But I did not think of it, and this person did. So now I only have, I think I have 2 Lincoln Parks after so many moves. My wife made me slim down because I would always be carrying the magazines to our next house. And then she's like, you know what, just keep 2 of them, 2 of every single issue, and that's all you need. And then it's like, but then you move them and then it gets torn. It's like, you want to keep it in pristine shape, like a baseball card or something.
Yeah.
So for at least I do, because every one of those are my babies.
I mean, you kind of, and like, this is something that you created, but it's like, I can relate to, like, I've always been like a comic book collector.
Yeah.
I've always been had records and stuff like that. And then moving into like a smaller place, it's like, I'm trying to like get rid of stuff, but it's so hard. Sometimes you get these attachments to certain things. Like, I got all these books and you haven't even read half these, get rid of them. I'm like, but I might have to,
right?
I might get to read it someday,
exactly.
But yeah, so the Jägermeister tour though, how did that come together?
Yeah, so
you actually went on that?
Yeah, so he picked up the magazine and he called me, and then we started a relationship where he said, can you book some shows and I'll give you some money to print your marketing materials, but you got to put Jaeger logo on it. And so that was kind of my first introduction to working with alcohol and liquor and understanding the business and their needs and how I could parlay that to help sponsor my events, which I still do today. So it's a beautiful thing that I got to meet them. But yeah, so I started doing that, and then they started working with friends of mine that were managing the Used and a few other bands that I knew, and they started putting on concerts, and they worked with Kevin Lyman with creating the forget what the emo one that what they had. I can't think of that festival, but
Warped Tour?
No, it was kind of an offshoot of the Warped Tour, but it was more emo, like with the bands like the Used and stuff. It'll come back to me. But so then he wanted to create his own tour, right? So he's like, these shows are great that you're doing. Can you create a tour? I'm like, no, I can't create a tour. I have no idea how to create a tour. And so, he wound up meeting up with John Oakes and John Reese, and they started Synergy Global Entertainment, and they were partners with Kevin Lyman. And I think originally I said, reach out to Kevin Lyman, but Kevin must have, or somehow they got a hold of John and John. I didn't connect them. But next thing I know is they're creating this tour. And, I said, well, who's doing the tour guide? Who's doing the publication? He goes, what do you mean? I go, you're missing a huge opportunity. I said, you could have Slayer on the cover of the magazine to give to people, and then it'll brand Jägermeister.
Yeah.
And then you could put all your other, like he had Corazon Tequila, and I forget what other ones he had, Grey Goose. You could put all that in there, and we'll do it in English and Spanish. So we did a flip. So the cover was one way here, and the cover was the other way here, and one was in English and Spanish. And then they were doing the tour was like running through like Halloween. So I said, look, I'm going to reach out, and I'm going to get Linda Blair from The Exorcist, and I'm going to put her in the magazine too. Is that cool? And they're like, yeah, that's awesome. So I have an interview with her, and then I had all the other bands that were in there. I interviewed Rick, so I made it like more of almost a sales piece, but kind of disguised it as a guide. But then it was cool because, and I still find them today, people will be selling, you could probably go on eBay right now and put in Slayer, and No Cover magazine will pop up with the Jaeger, the Jaeger Slayer, and then autographed, because everybody would go and they would Slayer would literally autograph every single one of them, just like they would not stop. So we did 100,000 copies to 42 tour stops. Yeah, and I got to go, not the whole tour, but I went on a lot of the tour, especially on the West Coast. And I got to hang out with, I got to know Kerry pretty well, got to play darts with him. He was loved Richfield Coliseum. Yeah. And he's a huge dart fan. He loved Cleveland. And because he asked me, he goes, "You play darts?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm from Cleveland. Of course I play darts." Yeah. And so we would play darts, and then we shot some pool, very down to earth. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything like I would imagine, but it was a childhood dream. You know, it's I'm like, I grew up wearing your T-shirt, looking like Beavis and Butthead, and now I'm hanging on the bus with you. Yeah, that's surreal.
And then so that that was one of the other music connections that you ended up having, but then you mentioned something about like MTV. How did your MTV? How'd you get connected with those shows? What was it? Singled Out and Love Connection.
Yeah. So Singled Out was during when I was in advertising. I was staying. I went over to a friend's house and they had a little party and everybody was leaving and I was still having some beers and my apartment wasn't that far from where I was, so I was hanging out with a coworker and he's like flipped on MTV. He's like, "You ever see this show, Singled Out?" I go, "No." I go, "Looks stupid." And he goes, "Well, I'm going to call and get you on there." I go, "What?" I go, "No." And so he calls up and he goes, "Hey, this is Mark Rasmussen and I want to be on Singled Out." And he gave him my number.
No way.
Yeah, and they called me.
It was that easy back then, huh?
It was that easy. Yeah, and then they called me because they needed people, right? Yeah. And they needed people that could take off work or arrange their schedule because production was like all day. I remember it was like, God, it was so there's 100 guys per show, but they would do, I think they would shoot 6 or 8 shows that day. So we would get there, I think, at 12 noon, and then we didn't get out of there till like, well, I didn't. I mean, you had to wait till the other shows shot first before your show. So I think I got out of there like at 8 o'clock. So I was there for 8 hours.
Wow.
And then all they did is they feed you McDonald's. It's like, you can have all the McDonald's you want. And so it's kind of cool. You're sitting behind the scenes and you can watch the show and you see how it's done and see how they shoot it and they cut to commercial and then they take their breaks and then, how they get pampered. And so it was kind of cool. But then it was my turn. And I was like one of 100 guys standing up there. I made sure I was in the front. So I was by Jenny McCarthy. Nice. And, I had probably just as bad scruff that I do now. And she started grabbing my beard. Nice. And she's like, "Nice shave job, buddy." And so then they narrowed it down. And then they narrowed it to, I think, 4 or 5. And then you have to do some stupid stunts and stuff. And the girl asks you questions. And then they narrow it down to 3. So then I'm down to 3. And then it's like a question, like a fast question, like, green band, great band, or bland. I'm like, great band. They're like, okay, you're right. And then you go step forward. And then finally the one who gets to her, the girl, they throw up this giant confetti and big thing. And that was me. And I won. And nice. Then, I'll give her a big hug. And then next thing you know is they sit you down and then they show you this big screen. And then they're like, "You are going to," I forget where we went to, what ski mountain, I forget. I can't remember. But it was somewhere in California. Okay. Bear Mountain. It was Bear Mountain. So you're going to Bear Mountain and you're going to be dripped in, I didn't say drip, but you're going to have Burton snowboards and these boots and you're going to be wearing this ski gears and these goggles and you're going to go for 3 days and you're going to take a limo. And it's like, really?
Nice.
And I'm going to go with her. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was exciting. And then after that, I got a call from a bunch of other TV shows. They're all dating game shows, Like, "We want you on our show." I'm like, "Yeah, sure you do. You want everybody on your show." And so then finally Love Connection called. And, I would say to everybody, I would say, if you let me promote my magazine, I will go on your show.
Yeah, there you go.
And they're like, "No, you can't do that. We, advertisers pay and blah, blah, blah. We can't do that." I'm like, "Okay, Love Connection called, and I said, you let me go on, if I go on your show, you let me promote your magazine. And they're like, if you pass the audition and you get on the show, you can promote whatever you want.
Nice.
And I was like, all right, I'll go. And I was living in San Diego at the time, so I drove to LA and I did the audition, and they're like, called me up and they're like, we want you. And then I was the main dude. So I don't know if you saw Love Connection before, but there's like 3 women, and then you come out, they typewriter thing, like, this is Mark Rasmussen, No Cover Magazine publisher, and blah blah blah. And
Okay.
so like a little commercial there, and then I sat down, and then of course I worked in another commercial, 30 seconds commercial.
Yeah.
Talked about my friends' bands in there. I tried to promote as much as I could.
Nice.
Yeah. So, but then you go on the date, and then after the date, that's when you talk about it. And then if the audience chooses the same girl, then they pay for your other date. So, and the audience did choose the girl that I chose,
Nice.
but it wasn't a love connection. So I was like, yeah, I'll take the money. Thanks. And then I didn't take her on the date.
And then also Groupies Suck, the clothing line. When did you branch out into that?
So I would distribute the magazine when we had the .com investment, and we'd have 100,000 copies, and we'd have this ugly green lime spinrecords.com RV, and I would load up 20,000 magazines, and I would bring it to the distributor in Las Vegas. And then I had a deal with the radio station. I can't think of the name of their radio station in Vegas, but I think it was 107 something or another. But they had a local show called It Hurts When I Pee. That was the name of their show. And so I would go on It Hurts When I Pee every single month. And I would give them a free ad, and then I would give them extra magazines that they can pass out with their vans around town. And then they would announce, hey, we're giving away the next No Cover magazine at this location, come pick it up. And then we had our regular distributor and stuff like that. So I got to know people in Las Vegas, and so I would go to the House of Blues shows, and then I would be backstage, and like Unwritten Law was playing. And I remember, I was good friends with those guys. I gave them their first magazine cover. And then there's a girl back there. I got to know her, green room girl. So she would bring all the food and drinks, making sure we wanted everything. And then I made kind of in the middle of things. And then all of a sudden she gets up and she slams the door and says, "Groupies suck." I go, "What?" I go, "What did you say?" She's like, "Groupies suck." I go, "That's hilarious." I go, "I'm going to make you a t-shirt that says Groupies Suck." And
Nice.
She goes, "I will wear it." So she started wearing the Groupies Suck t-shirt when all the bands were playing. And I would get all these bands calling me and people in the industry saying, "Can I get a t-shirt? Can I get a t-shirt? Can I get?" I'm like, maybe there's something here. So then I created the Groupies Suck brand. And then I was like, I think there was a skate company called Serial Killer.
Oh, yeah.
They had serial killers on there, right?
Yeah.
On their shirts.
I remember them, yeah.
I'm going to do
Porn star.
Yeah, porn star. Yep. I'm going to do one called with Groupies Suck, but I'm going to do all the ones that I think are groupies. Like, I think Courtney Love's a groupie. You know, without Kurt Cobain, I don't think Courtney Love, as good as she thought her band was, would have made it. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you would have had that much fame. So I call her a groupie. And so I had one that said Groupies Suck, picture of Courtney Love, and then it said the bitch that killed Kurt.
Oh,
and
man.
would sell out like crazy.
Yeah.
And then I had another one that said Groupies Suck. And then I had a picture of Yoko Ono, and they're all black and white.
Oh, yeah.
Pure black and white.
Nice.
Then it said the slut that ruined the Beatles. And then I had one with the Backstreet Boys, and it said Groupies Suck. And I go, they all suck. And I had a bunch. I can't remember all of them, but
Such a double entendre with the Groupies Suck, too.
yeah, it's such a yeah, exactly. And so then I was in Vegas again for Billboard Music Awards, and I met Wes from Puddle of Mud. My buddy was drum teching for him. Johnny Ransom, if you're listening, shout out to Johnny Ransom. And Wes liked my shirt. I was wearing Groupies Suck with Courtney Love, and he's like, "I want that." And I go, "What do you mean you want that?" I go, "It's not going to fit you." I go, "We're totally different sizes." And I go, "You need a smaller size." And then he goes, "No, I want that." And he goes, if you want to see 20 million people, because I'm accepting the Rock Artist Year Award by Fred Durst tomorrow. If you want to see 20 million people tune in and see your shirt, then you're going to find a way to get me that t-shirt.
You took it right off, right?
No, it didn't. It wouldn't fit him. And so I was like, okay. So I called around the next morning, and I called my office, and I got the artwork I needed. So that was easy. But then I called the whole day. I was on the phone calling screen printing shops. I need one t-shirt.
Yeah.
This is what, and it's gonna be a famous t-shirt, and the guy's gonna wear it. Nobody bit. And then this guy Brian Salipa. If Brian's listening, thank you, Brian. He owned a screen printing shop, and he goes, I'll do it.
Nice.
And so he did, and then he brought it over to for the Billboard Music Awards, and then literally he was, I mean, they were walking the red carpet, and I had it in a rubber band, and I threw it to Wes, and he caught it, and I was like, okay, cool, that fucker better wear it. I'm like, after everything I did, you better wear it. And he did. He came out and he wore the t-shirt. Fred Durst is presenting the Rock Artist of the Year Award, and he's just laughing. He's just pointing and pointing. And then all of a sudden, after that, t-shirts sold like crazy. And then I get a cease and desist letter from Courtney Love's.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I got a cease and desist letter from Courtney Love's attorney. And then I had to call, because I had sold in some to stores.
Yeah.
So I had to call some of the stores
to get those off,
to get them back.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna nail me.
Yeah.
And I was scared. I mean, I was still broke. I wasn't making a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know? And so, but the t-shirt company was doing great. But now I have to buy back the t-shirts. And I was like, after they just paid me. And so I was like, oh my God, this is such a nightmare. But I didn't want to get in trouble. So I got them all back. And some of them, though, God, what was the name of that one company that they really screwed me? I sold it to them for wholesale, which is like half, 60% off. And they sold it to me for retail. So I lost money.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was that. And then shortly after that, I got Yoko Ono got me a cease and desist. And so I scrapped all that. And then I started doing sayings, like band saying or groupie sayings. Like, I'm on the list.
Yeah,
I'm with the band. I know the drummer, I can't think of the other ones I had, but I had a whole list of them, and I had trademarked them all. And those were selling pretty good. And then I had Blink-182 wearing them, and I had Linkin Park wearing them. And so they were doing really well. And then I got an interview with Guitar Player magazine, interviewed me. And so they took pictures of my t-shirts and they put them in there. And then I had BBC London interviewed me with Pamela something or another. She was known as like the biggest groupie. She used to make the casts of every major rock star's
penis.
Yeah. Pamela DeBar or something like that. She was on the same show with me. I didn't understand why until she was promoting her book, and it was called Groupies or something like that, or the long, not Groupies Suck, but my t-shirts were Groupies Suck. And then, so that helped me. And then all of a sudden Holster came out, not with Groupies Suck, but they came out with, I'm on the list. I'm with the band, like rock shirts with groupie sayings. And so I go to my attorney and I said, hey, didn't we trademark these? Let's send them a cease and desist or go after them. He's like, do you have 30 grand? And I go, barely. And he goes, well, what about next month? And I said, no, I don't have 30 grand next month. And he goes, yeah, it's not going to happen. They're going to bleed you dry. Yeah. So you might as well walk away from it. So I did. And unfortunately, that's what happened. So, but it was a fun ride. It was fun. It was good to learn the business, but I would never go back into a t-shirt business. Low barriers to entry. That's one thing I did learn about business. It's like, if you're going to go into a business, try not to do a business that anybody can do.
Yeah, true. I'll have to tell you about my cease and desist when we're done with this interview.
Oh, you can tell me now.
I don't know. I'm still getting hot water for it, I think.
Oh, okay.
You know?
We don't want it on video.
I mean, I don't sell them anymore. I obeyed, but you know, it was, I guess I could freaking talk about it.
Sure.
Mean, why not? So like back when I was starting my, working for doing my promotion, booking bands at Fantasy and, Peabody's and Agora and stuff like that. Domain Cleveland. I was like, I had this great idea. I was like, dude, we're going to have Darth Vader stand in front of the Rock Hall and the domain's going to look like the Star Wars lettering. And
that is a great idea.
Shit,
that is a great idea.
Like, I mean, I still keep the, like that shirt that I gave you tonight still has the back thing, the 216 Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But the Darth Vader in front of the Rock Hall, and it's funny too, but I ended up getting a cease and desist from the Rock Hall using our image on there. I was like, where's George Lucas?
Wow. Yeah. George didn't come through.
Yeah. I would have framed that.
That would be a good letter to keep.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so that was my cease. And my friends, my partners at the time, dude, we can't do this. But, I was all ego and drinking and stuff. I was like, this is the greatest idea ever.
It was. I would love to see it. Do you still have a printout?
Yeah, I'll show you. I have to show you.
I want to see it. That sounds like a cool idea.
But speaking of coming back to Cleveland, and the Cleveland music scene, let's talk about the Cleveland Music Awards. Yeah,
so came to Cleveland and I was going to volunteer. That's all I wanted to do. I created the Ventura County Music Awards and was successful for 10 years in Ventura County, and I got to network and work with bands, and obviously I love music, so I was like, I'm going to work with Cleveland Music Awards. There's got to be Cleveland Music Awards. So I Googled and seen Music Awards popped up, and the old Free Times popped up, and seen any Cleveland Music Awards. I'm like, how is there not a Cleveland Music Awards? And I went to the domain. Domain was open. I was like, I better buy this. So I bought clevelandmusicawards.com and clemusicawards.com and every variation. And then I trademarked it, and I said, okay, this is it. I'm going to go full in. I'm going to create the Cleveland Music Awards. And I'd call around, and people are like, what are you talking about, Cleveland Music Awards? There's no Cleveland Music Awards. And I'm like, well, no, I'm just starting it. Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's new? Like, nah, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm like, what? Like, because I thought it would be easier than it was. I didn't know any bands. I didn't know anybody. And then I fortunately came across Mikey Silas. Shout out to Mikey with Apostle Jones. And he introduced me to a lot of people. And then I met Cindy Barber over at Beachland Ballroom. And then she helped me. And then more and more people started helping. And then as it started building, I'm really good at selling sponsorship. So once I locked in, I had the Forward at the time. Forward was the place I was going to have it outdoors, right, at the nightclub. And everything was set to go, and except the weather. The weather didn't want to cooperate that day. So it came down. As I was setting up at Forward, it all came down. It rained like crazy, major thunderstorms. I mean, I was drenched from setting everything up. I was drenched in with rain and from the storm. And luckily there is a God, and this guy comes riding in a scooter, this guy named Bobby, and he owns the club next door. I was actually partners with Forward called Welcome to the Farm. And he starts laughing, and he's just like, doesn't look like you're going to do an event here. And I go, no. And I sold 700 tickets. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't look like I'm going to do any event. I'm going to be known as the Fire Festival guy of Cleveland. Yeah. And thanks, guy, for pointing that out, Mr. Obvious. And he goes, no. He goes, I have a place over at next door, Welcome to the Farm. I go, that's great, man. But the guy that was supposed to bring the audio said he had COVID. So I don't have any audio equipment now. And so the rain, no audio equipment. I'm just going to cancel. I have audio equipment.
Nice.
Really? Yeah, I have a drum set too. I'm like, what? Yeah, I got a whole backline. What? Well, I don't have an audio engineer because the guy was going to come and he's got COVID. I got an audio engineer. What?
Nice.
I'm like, well, okay. So then we posted a note on the door with an arrow, Cleveland Music Awards at Welcome to the Farm. So we tried to do social media and tell people as much as we could, you know, and eventually people did figure it out. And then the sun came out and they opened up the garage doors and we were right on the water. And yeah, there really is a God because I was saved that day.
Mm.
And after that, people were like, when are you doing the next one?
Yeah.
So then I was like, okay, if I do it, where am I going to do this? And then I was looking at the Agora. I wanted to do the Agora, but they're like, no, can't do the Agora. It's AG. They want too much money. They're just not feeling it. I was like, all right. I want a theater though. So then I came across Temple Live.
Okay.
They just opened up.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll do it at Temple Live.
I used to do security there.
No way.
Yeah.
Those guys are great. So you worked with Garrett?
Yeah. Well, I came in after Garrett, but Victor.
Victor's awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Victor.
There, I was, doing media for the podcast and domain and everything, and that's how I got to meet Garrett. And so then I, anytime you want to come to a show, So I was good with Garrett, and then Victor was head of security at the time.
He's a military guy.
Yeah,
Ex-military.
Yeah, Marine.
Yep.
So yeah, Victor's been on the show as well.
Oh, cool.
And so then me and Victor became friends.
I'm gonna look that one up. I love Victor.
And he
Where's he at now?
I think he had to go back to security. It's a whole. I don't really want to talk about it on here. But,
I get you.
But yeah, good dude. I keep in touch with Victor.
Well, I have got some great breaking news that only can share here on Boondoggle. The Cleveland Music Awards will be taking place at the Agora this year.
Nice. So did you seal the deal with Chris at incarceration?
With Chris, it was after incarceration. Yeah.
Okay.
He was there at the same time.
Yeah.
But I never ran into him. But,
you didn't run into him while we were there? He was like under that same tent we were hanging out most of the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see him. I would have definitely said hi to him. But no, I reached back out and through some other people and we made it work. So,
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
Dan from Inc. helped.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Yeah.
Is you got a date set for that yet?
Tentative is February 1st.
Okay.
Because we're trying to avoid all NFL football. Right before the Super Bowl. So Browns look pretty good in preseason. Hopefully they stay that way. But I didn't want anything to affect that. So we chose February 1st.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it's going to be beautiful. I mean, it's a gorgeous theater, as you know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And the sound is incredible. And that was the first place I wanted to have it in. And now in 4 years, I took it from, welcome to the farm to the Agora.
Nice. Well, I'll definitely plan on being there February 1st.
Definitely.
Man.
Yeah.
And then, we have to bring it back to like what originally connected us. We talked about seeing the man at work at the Richfield Coliseum when we were younger. But how did you get connected with Hulk Hogan and the Real American Beer?
Oh, yeah. Real American Beer is amazing. So what happened was I just kept seeing him around town. And then I would go and I would see it at the bars, but nobody drinking it. And I was like, I've got a background in working with different alcohol companies and liquor companies and selling alcohol myself. So I called them up. I just did a cold call. And
Nice.
Actually, I think I did an email first because they weren't responding to my phone call. And I put my number and then I got a phone call back. It was from the VP of marketing and events. And then when I started talking to him and telling him what I saw, and he's in Chicago and I'm here in Cleveland, and he's like, well, what would you do? And I told him, I said, I would get rid of your girls and I would sponsor bands. And I go, I'm the guy to hire because I know all the bands in Cleveland because I put on the Cleveland Music Awards. So I know which bands are going to draw and which bands are going to do really well for you. And I made a list after we made a deal, and it we did a 3-month trial, and now the 3-month trial's over. They want to continue. They want to bring in some new bands, and they want to expand to different states. So yeah, that's pretty much how I met him, and then just hit it off. I mean, he's a great guy, smart guy. He's got a background in everything but music, everything but alcohol. So
This is the guy that runs the beer.
yeah, that runs the
Okay.
the event company.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and there's ties to Cleveland, which is really nice. So the co-owner lives in Pepper Pike.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Hawk passed away.
Yeah.
But before he passed, he started the Real American Freestyle Wrestling, and that's where we're going Saturday.
Yeah. Now, during that time of working, promoting Real American Beer, were you involved when Hulk Hogan made his stop here to promote it?
No, I wasn't even involved yet.
No?
No,
All right.
I never ever got to meet Hulk Hogan. I would have
man.
loved to.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that's-
I know, me too.
He was supposed to be at this show this Saturday. That was the reason when I was going to meet him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that obviously didn't happen. But God had better plans for him. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's sad, man. I mean, I've been a wrestling fan ever since I was a kid. I still, watch WWE. It's my like soap opera or distraction, from the world, I guess.
sure.
And I was a little Hulkamaniac. I remember like I made a thing after a post after he passed away because I never went to those things, never got a chance to meet him, get a picture with him or anything. But I remember like one year in school for school pictures, like, mom always wants a nice, pretty, handsome picture, button up shirt or whatever. And underneath my button up shirt, I had my Hulk Rules shirt,
That's awesome.
the yellow and red on. And then when it was time for the picture and I go out there, I unbuttoned the shirt and I had Hulk Rules.
Wow.
Mom wasn't too happy, but I busted out the Hulk Rules
You
on
gotta
one of my
send
school
that to me.
pictures.
I'm gonna send it to the VP guy
Yeah.
and see if he'll post it on the Real.
I mean,
American Beer.
you can only see like the yellow and red. You can't really see the
Oh, okay.
whole thing, unfortunately.
That's still
but-
pretty cool. Though.
Yeah.
Your mom had to be pissed.
Yeah. She was a little upset with me, but oh well. It wasn't my senior picture, at least,
Yeah.
But then so you got that you caught my eye there at Inc. because I seen Hulk Hogan shirts and everything. I was like, well, what's this? Real American. I know, and then that's what got us to talking. And now, it's like I'm learning all the other things that you've been involved with. And I think we were talking a little bit too before we went on about the space that you're involved with. You want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So basically, we're creating a creative community, building it with what we've already structured with offering a podcast room, photography studio, and recording. Now, it's not going to be a major recording. We're not going to be like Spider or anything like that. But, if you want to do vocals or anything else, you can probably come in there and knock it out. And we've got already our first podcast client on there. So it's called Aaron Ball's podcast.
Yeah, Aaron's Balls or whatever.
Yeah. So check them out Tuesday at 8. It's gonna be fun. It's cool because we can create content for No Cover, and we can create content for the Cleveland Music Awards and any other thing that we want to do. In photography, it's kind of like a dream, like a mini ad agency, like from my dad. I'd go to his ad agency. It was huge, but it's just always been a dream of mine to have some kind of creative outlet. So it's not going to get rich quick, but it's definitely fun. It's great.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I was saying, this ain't Joe Rogan's studio. I ain't getting Joe Rogan money, but this is
Not
something
yet.
that I
Not yet.
yeah. But I'd been involved with
Believe,
exactly.
achieve.
Exactly.
You conceived it, you're believing it, and you're achieving it right now. So all you have to do is just think further ahead. Like, okay, this is it. This is taking off. Now you see what works, what doesn't work, tweak what you need, I mean, you've got some heavy hitters. I was looking at your podcast, and you've had some great people. On
Yeah,
your
man.
podcast.
I mean, like you said, divine appointments, man. It's like God's been good in this as well. For me, this originally was like, you know, as a kid, I shared this when I had Matt Pinfield on.
Yeah.
You know, and I was talking with Matt, and it's just like, you know, when I was a kid, man, like I loved Johnny Carson.
Yes.
Loved watching him. And, you know, we had, you know, MMS and stuff growing up here. And
Jeff Kinsbach in the morning. And
yeah. And I would like make my own shows. I'd take a tape recorder. I'd record some, you know, a song off the rate. And then I would be like DJing or talking or doing skits and jokes and everything like myself. And that was like what I wanted to do. And then it was just like, unfortunately, you know, it's like you got those parents, they love and support you, but they want to do the safe thing.
Right. Of course.
You know, you know, we're not those people or whatever. So then I was a class clown in school. I wasn't planning on going to college. So, you know, military was the option, you know, for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, all these years later, you know, I started, you know.
My dad was in the Navy.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So he was a photographer for the Navy. And I remember the yearbook or whatever, the book that they put out, you know, he shot all the pictures. And I remember there's a Russian MiG that he shot.
Oh, wow.
Because he was for Vietnam.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, you know, this was, you know, always kind of a love of mine, and I got involved in the Cleveland music scene, and I was living with my old roommate, Frank Novinek, was in the local hardcore band Ringworm.
Oh, yeah.
And then he now plays for Hatebreed, you know, which was a Jaeger on some of the Jaeger shows.
That was on the Slayer tour.
Yeah.
That they were in. I interviewed them. That's why I know them. Okay.
Yeah.
So that they were in. I'll give you I'll find a Jaeger Tour magazine and give it to you because he's in there.
Yeah.
He's in there. That's why I was like, I know him. I like Hatebreed.
Yeah. So when I was living with Frank, he used to book shows at the Fantasy all the time, hardcore bands. So he helped me book my first show, and I started booking shows. And then I wanted to start doing interviews, and I started Domain Cleveland. And, you know, it was,
that's pretty killer.
This led to the podcast basically when I got sober after my last deployment, and then I was just like, I was trying to learn this has been like therapy for me. You kind of live comfortably in my own skin now, sober, you know? And so I started, you know, and then COVID came, and it was just like, okay, let's set up interviews. I still got all these connections from all the times I used to cover shows when they came through Cleveland.
Yeah.
And now here we are, man. This is episode 374, baby.
374. I love it. It's incredible.
Yeah. So it's just
job.
like, man, it's just like I don't have the views or following that I would like, but I'm enjoying myself. You know, I'm getting to meet cool people like you and sit down and talk. And,
I mean, seriously, once you start doing, and that's the thing even with No Cover, right? It's like I started doing it out of passion, right?
Yeah.
And then the money followed because the authenticity, and same thing. I've watched a lot of your podcasts already because I wanted to prepare. And I was like, man, he's got some great artists on there. I'm like, how does he get? And I'm looking at the views, and I'm like, he doesn't have a lot of views, but these artists are stepping up to go on his show. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't matter. It's you.
It's like once you get that right one, I mean, they got a whole catalog they can go back and watch. And that it does sometimes bum me out because I have had really great conversations with some big names, you know, and I want more eyes on it. But I guess once the right one hits, man, go back and check out some of these guys I've talked to. And it's been, for me, a lot of it, like I said, you know, getting sober has connected me with a lot of guys even more now, that because a lot of musicians that I'm friends with are, you know, that I become friends with are, you know, sober too. So we got that connection, and
that's awesome.
And then, you know, I have, you know, I my veteran community, I want to give them a platform as well. So people like that didn't serve maybe can have to bridge that, whatever that disconnect that between civilians and military, you know, to kind of get a better understanding of why we're the way we are, you know, and things that we've overcome. And, you know, it's always what I like talking about is just like the things you don't see that we had to deal with to get to where we're at today.
Yeah. I can imagine. I am huge in awe and support of our military, and obviously thank you for your service. And I have a few homes in North Carolina, and I work with a lot of the Marines. And so I hear some of their stories and everything that they've gone through and their journey, and even the PTSD after their journey. You know, I have one good friend, one really, really good friend. And unfortunately he has PTSD, you know, and he went through some troubles, you know, and had him live in one of my homes. And then he finally cleaned himself up and he has his own home. So, I mean, just the stuff that he's seen and stuff that he's told me about, it's just not right. It's just, it takes a certain individual, and I would not be that individual. So I appreciate everything that you've done and everything all military has done.
Yeah, I like getting a lot of these guys on to share their stories. And I don't know if I ever go into like the traumatic stuff. We talk about like the fun stuff, the odd stuff, you know,
but you
just the camaraderie, the travel, and, you know, but also I've met a lot of people that are involved with veteran organizations that you know, to help veterans dealing with PTSD and whatnot, that they might not know about. You know, they just think there's the VA and they have a bad experience at the VA and they just give up on, but there's all these different organizations, and I give them a platform on here to advertise. So hopefully
that's awesome.
You know, but man, Mark, we've been going at it for an hour. I think we're about at the end. For people that want to know more about, like, I know No Cover's got an internet presence. Does the space?
Yep, and we're going to have an app coming out now too in September.
Okay,
so No Cover app, which I'm excited about. So you'll be able to download it, take it, pocket it in your phone, and be able to read upcoming information about new bands, existing bands, major bands, and most importantly, events. So it's going to feed all the events.
Nice.
And you're just going to swipe right or swipe left. If you like the event, swipe right. If you don't like the event, swipe
so
left.
Like Tinder for events, huh?
Tinder for events. That's exactly what it is.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, and I seen, you know, when I was checking out your website too, it's just like, you know, not just Cleveland. You still got the Los Angeles connection there. You got Nashville, I think, on there.
Yeah, so the goal is to license to different cities, to find people like me or people that are involved in music, that have a passion for it, and then just offer it to them for, you know, a ridiculous low licensing fee, just to build the network out, you know, and then connect everybody together. So then we can eventually do a No Cover tour, you know, take the best band from Pittsburgh, the best band from Cleveland, best band from New York, whatever it may be, and then help those bands within their career. A lot of bands, and that's part of the space when we're going to do the No Cover podcast, is we're going to talk to and bring in people and give education to a lot of these bands. A lot of bands don't even know how to do a press kit. They don't know what public relations is. They don't know the first thing about booking. They can play. They're great musicians, but the business aspect of it, right? That's why it's called the music business. Yeah, because there's two things. You got the music and you got the business. They don't know the business. That's okay. I don't know the music. So I love the music. I couldn't play. So I want to provide my knowledge to help the people that I see that want it, that have the talent to get to that next level.
Nice. Yeah, when you're talking about Kinko's, when you first started the magazine, running up to Kinko's and printing it out, man, it was bringing back memories when I first was booking shows, and I would cut out the band logos, go up to Kinko's, print out the flyers to advertise the shows and everything like that. Awesome. You know, it's just like the old DIY way. DIY. And I'm still here at 52 years old, still do DIY my podcast.
I almost think it was better than apps and the
Yeah,
internet
Facebook,
and
yeah.
because
It's like everybody says they're coming, but half of them don't show up when they say yes on the RSVPs.
But
and stuff.
if you're committed back then, you're there.
Yeah.
Because there's no cell phone to pull you away from anywhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, okay, I'm going
Exactly.
here, and that's where I'm going. So if you're a great promoter, then you would be able to get those people there, and they're going to stay there.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, that was a huge difference in promotion back then.
Yeah.
To the way it
yeah,
is
for
now.
sure, man. Well, hey, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you a couple questions that I
Sure.
normally ask guests I have on. We were talking a lot about education, I mean, knowledge of the business and stuff. But what class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
Finance.
Yep.
Yeah, finance. You better know your money. If you don't know your money, someone else will.
Yeah, they'll get to know your money by taking
Yeah,
it from you.
and that sets. Unfortunately, it sets the classes apart, right? Because now it's like someone who's struggling shouldn't be struggling because if they just had the information that others, like the information I have now, I try to give it to my daughters and my grandchildren. Just to and anybody who really listen, because especially in real estate, I've done pretty damn well in real estate. It's like I've done okay with the magazine and events and everything else, but in real estate, I slam it. I do really, really well. I mean, I've figured it out, but I figured it out too late because now my journey and the risk and the reward doesn't equal. Right?
Yeah.
So if I was back, younger, and I know what I know now, everybody would love to say that, but I would understand that the banks are not your friends. That's
the number one answer I get when I ask that question. Either finances and taxes and stuff, but like you were saying, it's like if I wish I would have known, like there was we would always have like these little trainings in the Navy about thrift savings plans and stuff like that, and investments, and I would invest in the bar. I just didn't know what I didn't know. It was like the bar and hookers, unfortunately.
Wow, that's pretty cool that the Navy taught you.
But they tried. But if I would have listened, and I learned at like my last year or my last couple of years before I retired is when I got sober. But I had friends that were like, when they would send us somewhere for training or wherever, they were collecting points on the hotels and everything because they signed up for all those things I never did, or miles. And I was just like, damn,
it's free money.
All the crap I learned too late, but it's like, hey, like you said, I try and share it with my daughters too,
Yeah, exactly.
Pass that stuff along.
Pass it on. And it's funny because my daughter, the first time I told her and I taught her how to do a spreadsheet and keep her finances and budgeting, and she just blew me off. Yeah. And then now she's got 2 kids and she's budgeting, financing, she's doing it all.
Well,
so
that's kind of where I'm at with the one you met earlier, just trying to get her to like start budgeting and saving. Listen to me, it's she's more like I was back in the day. I was just blowing it all on concerts and stuff like that. But we'll get there, Now I think when we were talking about all the people that helped you out, you might have covered this, but 3 people who've inspired you or you can credit for making you the person you are today.
Well, I take my mom and my dad, number one, as one, I guess. But, in industry-wise, Kevin Lyman, Jerry Heller, and Mark Fleischman, those 3. So, and, I explained, Kevin was right there at the right time. When I got that investment, he believed in me, told him to give me the money. Mark Fleischman, I was broke as a joke. I was actually Mark Fleischman was before Kevin. So I was broke as a joke, and I was driving down to LA and I was ready to just leave and go back to Cleveland. And he said, I'm going to give you all this advertising, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to teach you, about building relationships, and I'm going to give you trade, and I'm going to treat you like a king. He did. He treated me like a king. I walked into that club, front of the line, always on the list, front of the line. I walked right in.
No cover.
I had no cover. Yeah. And I would bring my advertising people. I would bring, Warner Brothers advertising and Sony Advertising, whoever it was, and then he would bring us in, sit us at the right table, overlooking the stage, whatever show that they were doing, or if there was a DJ, and then we would sit and we would eat like kings.
Nice.
And then the only thing I had to pay for was the alcohol because it didn't come out of the trade. So I would pay for the alcohol, which, we drank a lot. But it's okay because that relationship building is what I learned from Mark Fleischman.
Yeah.
And then the last is
networking.
Jerry Heller, obviously the Cleveland connection. He opened a lot of doors for me. He was always there for me, gave me advice, told me a lot of his stories, war stories, what not to do, what to do, who to avoid, stuff like that I want to share, on my podcast when I start doing it, just to give people information to, because I'm not going to be here forever. And what's in my head is somewhat valuable, I guess. It's to give to others so they don't have to make the same mistakes. And those three people helped me, and I want to be able to pay it forward and help them.
Yeah, like I was saying when I responded to your email, giving me like your resume, I was like, man, you got to write a book. But it sounds like the podcast will be like your book.
Yeah, it could be.
Each episode could be a chapter of what you're trying to.
Or being on your podcast. I'll just save it, put it in a time capsule. Here,
there you go.
Watch the Boondoggle. This is what I was all about.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then going back once again to childhood. Do you remember what your favorite toy was as a child?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, it was probably something with Star Wars, I would imagine.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, probably the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter.
Nice.
Or I had the the whole Death Star, or it was kind of like half a Death Star.
Yeah. With the trash compactor thing in there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The styrofoam little.
Broke a lot of heads off there.
Yeah.
And then, see, I had a remote control Porsche that my dad gave me. That was pretty cool. So yeah, those are probably the ones that pop in my mind. So, and what is that? The green machine. Like a big wheel.
Okay, yeah.
And you'd pull the lever and it would slide.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
Nice. And then
how about you? What was yours?
I mean, Star Wars. I definitely was a Star Wars guy, and then G.I. Joe.
Oh yeah, G.I. Joe
and stuff. I try and collect all that stuff. And unfortunately, I wasn't even bad with money back then. If I knew how much those things were going to being worth, I probably wouldn't have buried them in the sandbox or melted them with a freaking magnifying glass or whatever.
Break off a head in the trash compactor.
Yeah, exactly. But I haven't asked this question in a while, but I mean, I don't know if you're still watching today, but when you would go to the Richfield Coliseum and watch wrestling, who was your favorite?
Well, Hulk Hogan was definitely my favorite. Roddy Piper, because he was such an ass. I was just like, I just thought he was such an ass. I was like, who is this guy? So those were probably my two favorites.
Nice.
Yeah, I was a huge Hulk fan. So sad that I didn't get to meet him, but it's fun that I get to work with him.
Yeah, nice. And then we talked about him a little bit, but any message you have for our military members currently serving overseas?
Major gracias, thank you. Konnichiwa, whatever else I could say, just to give gratitude, and just keep doing what you're doing. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and there's obviously promise to the fight that you're fighting. And sometimes it feels like it's not worth it, I'm sure. But we are better off with you than without you. So thank you.
Awesome. Mark, man, I appreciate you coming over and doing this.
Thank you, Bill.
And it was great.
Yeah, it was awesome hanging out, man.
You. Yeah, dude.
Thank you
for sure. We'll have
thank you for the shirts.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll have to stay connected here.
There it is. Save the kids, kill the pedos. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get a cease and desist for that.
No. I
don't think we've gone that bad yet.
Well, unless Jeffrey Epstein comes back. But
yeah, exactly. But awesome, man. Great talking with you.
You as well. Thank you again. Bye.
Listen up! Hold on to your seats. Grab your girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Balaam Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, so one Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.